The dining room glowed with the soft, ceremonial warmth of a family ritual, polite laughter, carefully chosen topics, the clink of cutlery like metronomes. I stood at the head of the table with a folder in my hands, the document heavy with signatures and consequences. My wife's grip on her glass loosened as the door opened to reveal the assembly. Children, cousins, a grandson I barely knew, and hovering with a practiced ease, my daughter-in-law. She offered a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a predator's measuring gaze that suggested more than interest in an inheritance. Yes, I cleared my throat to begin. She met my eyes with a quiet calm that felt rehearsed, almost too polished for a casual family dinner. Her glance wandered to the papers, then back to me with that same enigmatic curve of a smile. The room leaned in with polite curiosity, waiting for the reveal, while a thread of unease coiled in my stomach. I reminded myself that this was supposed to be a celebration of legacy, not a negotiation of loyalties whispered behind closed doors. I spoke of prudence, of leaving a careful, transparent estate, of respecting the values that built this family over generations. The words landed with the soft thud of a formal decree, and still she watched me as if she'd already parsed every line, every clause that could bind or release someone's future. Her smile widened just enough to reveal a glimmer of calculation, a quiet acknowledgement that the game being played wasn't about fairness, but about leverage, advantage, and the art of reading secret intentions in plain sight. Conversation drifted to harmless topics, the weather, a cousin's new house, a grandchild's school recital, but her eyes kept returning to the papers, tracing their margins as if seeking hidden ink, a fingerprint of some covert plan. When I paused to take a sip, she leaned forward slightly, a whisper of motion that felt like a prelude to something larger. In that instant, I realized the inheritance might be only the outward sign of a deeper claim, influence over a family story I assumed would outlive me. The table's laughter paused, our relatives stiffening, as if caught in a photo they hadn't intended to pose for. She spoke only when necessary, but every sentence carried weight beyond its surface. She asked about executive choices with a casual, almost bored tone, then pivoted to questions about guardianships and trusts, as if she'd memorized the entire will before I'd even opened it. The implication was clear. She intended to rewrite not just a will, but the memoir of our kin, with herself as primary author. When the inevitable moment came to sign, her fingers found mine in a brief, almost affectionate touch, an intimate signal that betrayed a shared understanding. The room exhaled in synchronized nervous relief, as if everyone was relieved we were moving forward, even if none could articulate what were we really agreeing to. I noticed the way her smile softened only when she believed no one was watching, a secret language between her and someone else at the table, the true beneficiaries, the hidden beneficiaries. Afterward, the clinking of glasses resumed, but the music had changed keys. I watched her lift a congratulatory toast toward her spouse, her voice warm and measured, while my thoughts wandered into the darker corridors of motive. Was she merely calculating risk, or had she already mapped out a future where she would be the linchpin that holds the family together? Or, more accurately, binds us to her design? The question lingered, unspoken, the air thick with possibilities I hadn't invited to the table. Back in the quiet of my study, I reread the will with a tired, methodical eye. I checked dates, witnesses, and the fine print that promises protection to one while quietly constraining another. A family is a labyrinth of gratitude and obligation, and I'd built mine with generous corridors. Yet she seemed to be carving a private hallway, one that led directly to something she wanted more than anything else: control. The more I read, the clearer the motive looked. Not just inheritance, but a reshaping of every cherished memory that had preceded this night. Weeks passed, and the dynamics shifted like sands under a shifting shoreline. I spoke with a trusted attorney, but more importantly, I spoke with my oldest child, and then with my own conscience. I began to hold the line between caution and overreach, to safeguard the integrity of the family story even as the money's lure pulsed in the air. The daughter-in-law's smile remained a riddle, fascinating, unnerving, and drawing me toward a confrontation I hadn't wanted but couldn't postpone. Today, the echo of that dinner still rings in the quiet moments, the tremor of anticipation before signing, the subtle uses of power, the delicate balance between love and protection. I didn't abandon the idea of leaving a fair and generous legacy. I recalibrated it to ensure that fairness isn't a weapon, and that love isn't a cloak for ambition. The inheritance remains, but the family's heart is the real measure of wealth, one I'm determined to protect, even if it means confronting the quiet, cunning claims of those who would claim more than money. Old Key Briefcase.